If you've been following my blog for a while, you're likely aware of the challenges I faced growing up with two narcissistic parents. However, fast forward to 2024, and my life is in a completely different place. It's filled with positivity, and I'm thriving. This transformation is a testament to the possibility of hope and healing. Today, I'm eager to offer you a deeper look into my past, demonstrating that despite enduring such experiences, there is always potential for healing and growth. Yesterday, I received my father's personnel records from Kløve School, a small school outside Bergen. I now have all his personnel records from his professional career as a teacher. I can't remember my father ever being violent at home, but I do remember him being violent outside the home towards other people, something his personnel records from Kløve confirm. In 1984, my mother and I walked past the local shop in Kløve, a small town about an hour's drive outside Bergen. Outside the shop, there were 2 or 3 children around 9 years old. They were laughing and playing like children usually do. When we got home, my mother told my father that these children had been making fun of me. I was 6 years old. I cannot remember what happened, but I know my mother was notorious for interpreting normal behavior in the worst possible way. So they likely did not make fun of me, but she interpreted it that way. My father became furious. The next day, he confronted them in class and threatened to, quote, wring their necks. During recess, he approached them again and made the same threat. They got so scared that they ran into the nearest bathroom and locked the door. In his hot pursuit, my father smashed his fist through the bathroom window. After calming down, he tried to convince the same 2 children to never speak of what had happened because it was their secret. This was one of the many incidents I read about when I received my father's personnel records yesterday from Kløve School. In addition to this incident, the file contained the same written recommendations from his previous schools, except for Fjordgard. However, this file also included transcripts of phone interviews conducted by the school board when they called my father's references. They had spoken to each school he had worked at from the early 60s, and every school said the same thing. He was impossible to work with, unable to cooperate, and a man suffering from psychological problems. The file contained detailed accounts of complaints against my father from his colleagues at Kløve, portraying him as a highly challenging person to work with. They described how he utilized fear to control both people and meetings. During staff meetings, he frequently declared, "Don't pressure me or I will get angry," which he also used at home. Additionally, students expressed their discomfort, claiming that having him as their teacher made them so anxious that they became physically unwell. They were too afraid to seek his assistance due to his tendency to respond with anger and belittlement. Of course, my father, as he usually did, denied everything and claimed he had done nothing wrong, but that everyone was against him and misinterpreted him. In 1987, the situation became so complex that my father was fired. However, with the assistance of the teachers' union, he secured a teaching position at Narvik High School. I recall reading a letter in the file from the principal of Narvik High School in which he strongly objected to my father joining the staff. In this file, I also came across a letter in which my father detailed his decision to enroll me at Steinerskolen in Bergen. In the letter, he explained that he had removed me from Kløve School as retribution against the school board. It became clear that I was unwittingly caught up in my father's conflicts. He used me as a tool and uprooted me from my friends at Kløve, forcing me to endure a lengthy daily commute to attend school in Bergen. But why would every school from the 1960s and 1970s give him written recommendations and then tell a different story when the school board at Kløve called them on the phone? In the documents from his tenure as principal at Kongsfjord School and the files from Kløve, I uncovered multiple instances of my father using coercive tactics to manipulate others into doing what he wanted. One striking example is when he relentlessly called a journalist at the local newspaper in Kløve a staggering 50 times in a single week to pressure them into changing their story. Another concerning revelation was a communication from the school board at Kløve indicating that they were at their wits' end and would have to resort to extreme measures to protect themselves from my father if the county did not intervene. I found proof that in the end, they had contacted an attorney in Oslo because my father's harassment and his allegations had become so severe they saw no other way. These pieces of evidence strongly suggest that the glowing written recommendations for my father were obtained under duress, with the intent of ridding themselves of his harassment. This behavior of my father is very similar to how my father and my brother acted many years later when there was a dispute over my father's parents' burial plot. I found letters from parents who strongly supported him in the same file, as well as transcripts from a meeting at the school board between my father and the school board. During this meeting, my father openly admitted to having persuaded those parents to write the supportive letter. I distinctly remember overhearing my father and mother discussing how they could convince a group of parents to write that letter. It wouldn't surprise me if that letter were written under duress, with the intent of ridding themselves of harassment. I have found immense therapeutic value in delving into my father's personnel records. As one grows older, it's natural to question the accuracy of memory and wonder if one has exaggerated things. It has been unbelievably healing to read about how others outside of our family perceived him in the same way that I did. This validates my experiences and holds the potential for a future reconnection with my brother and his family. Despite my brother's accusations of dishonesty and exaggeration, the written proof demonstrates that others share my perception of our father. How has growing up with a father like that affected me? I have no recollection of him exhibiting violent behavior at home towards me, my mother, or my brother. However, I vividly recall the incident where he threatened the two children and physically assaulted our neighbor, who was the leader of the school board, delivering a sucker punch that brought our neighbor to the ground. Despite this, I cannot discount the possibility that he may have been violent at home, as it is conceivable that I could have repressed such memories. But I remember being scared of saying or doing something that would make him angry. This explains why I, for many years, struggled with a fear of authorities and had a tough time speaking my mind or disagreeing with anyone. I also remember suffering from nervousness, the same way his students did, having the same health issues as they had. I want to share a message of hope with those who have experienced or are experiencing similar challenges with their parents. It's important to remember that there is hope for healing. It's okay to make difficult decisions, including establishing boundaries or even going with no contact for your well-being. Furthermore, it's essential to acknowledge that it's okay not to like your parents, especially if their behavior has been hurtful. This acknowledgement can be a decisive step towards personal freedom and healing. There is healing, there is freedom, don't give up.